Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome. Today we've got a very incredibly special guest on the show, and that is Tommy Tai Fung.
Hello, everyone.
Also happens to be studying at King's College London. Today I wanted Tommy to come on the show and speak to us a little bit about the experience of him being at King's College studying dentistry.
So right now I'm in my 5th year, King's College, doing dentistry. Basically, hopefully you're here to maybe hear a bit about the uni, a bit about why you want to pick dentistry, and hopefully I can give you some useful information.
Yeah, so this is mainly for people who are applying for dentistry or who are thinking of maybe going into dentistry and potentially are thinking about where to apply.
That's exactly why you might be here. Hopefully by the end of this podcast, you might have a better idea of whether you want dentistry or any other career.
And whether you want King's College. Okay, so what inspired you to choose dentistry as a career?
Well, interestingly enough, I was in my year 12. I was still not really sure. I think at that point I wanted to do medicine, but that's only because I actually didn't really think about dentistry. Funnily enough, there was this uncle that I had, and he was just a big hater on dentistry from a young age. So in my head, that wasn't even an option. Started Googling stuff and suddenly found dentistry was something similar to medicine, but not really. Definitely the main thing I found was the positive in dentistry that you get a more balanced lifestyle. You usually will work a 9-to-5 job, similar to everyone else. You have to do night shifts, and I quite liked art as well, and that's something is implemented quite well in dentistry. But yeah, it's a nice career path. It's definitely more chill than medicine in terms of uni. Further on, I feel like you'll have possibly a better work-life balance.
Fair enough. Who made you think about medicine?
For a lot of people, it might be their parents. I think in my case, it's definitely your parents are just like, you should do medicine, you're the classic. So I didn't really have a choice but to go just slightly out of the medicine realm, go for dentistry. That was the reasoning behind my choice.
How did you prepare for your UCAT application and personal statement?
So let's start one by one. Let's just go UCAS. Obviously, you will need the necessary GCSEs. That's all on UCAS. If you want to apply, make sure to check for that. UCAS, you need the predicted grades. I think that's also really important. Make sure to ask your teachers. As in dentistry, I think most unis are at least in A levels a star, and then in IB, which I did, was in higher levels 6, 6, 7. So make sure you have that. Otherwise, your application just won't really go through and won't get accepted. Then with your personal statement, it's important to have some work experience prior, so you can talk a bit about that, your achievements, and basically why you want to be a dentist. Obviously a bit about that. Also about why you would be a good dentist. I think that's more important. So basically showing how you show teamwork skills, communication skills. That's kind of what they're looking for. And then also that you're an all-rounded person, that you're not only into your studies. So you need your extracurriculars, which is your art, your sports, things you do outside of school, but as well as the supercurricular, which are the community work, so charity work, volunteering, as well as the shadowing and the experience you have in dentistry.
And in your personal statement, do you recommend writing something a little bit crazy? I remember yours had something about Captain Hook, about his crooked teeth.
So this is actually, someone really close to me said this to me. Basically, they read tons of personal statements per year. You really need something to kind of catch their attention. This could be better, this could be good, but for me it worked. You have to add something in your first sentence to basically capture their attention, because the first sentence is usually the most important, kind of what they read first. I read the rest, but not as in much detail. I'll tell you the empathy card. I said that my teeth were crooked as a kid, and I got totally started being called Captain Jack Sparrow, something like that. Yeah, try to include something that's a bit out there, a bit different. I think nowadays, if you use ChatGPT or something, you get something quite generic, but try to think of something that would separate you from the rest.
So the next thing is, what was the most challenging part of the application process for you?
Definitely the interviews. I think everything up until then, there was a deadline, but you had enough time to do everything. But the interviews, obviously, proper time limit. You know that you get going in there. It's going to be stressful. But if you're already selected for the interview, if you're lucky enough, you're in the top around 20-30% to have been selected for interview, they already want you, and you should feel like they already want you. And when you're there, you should just prove that you are what you wrote in your personal statement. What was on paper is actually you. Be natural, be yourself, make jokes. I think that's what they're looking for really in dentistry. A person that has good communication skills, is friendly, is approachable. Other than that, the interview stage I know is incredibly stressful. I've done interviews for applicants, King's. That's one of the opportunities that the students have. It always happens, in the first or the second interviews, and they're really not as good. But then when people get into the third or fourth ones, I think people get a lot better, a lot more relaxed. And that's basically what I had as well. I had 4 interviews. My first 2, I messed up. Luckily, my third and my fourth one were actually the ones that I got offers for. So it does get better, so your head up, so you'll get there.
What about for the people who don't maybe have that many offers and who maybe have just 1 or 2 interviews and who managed to get a King's College interview for dentistry? What would you recommend them not to do, and what would you recommend them to do?
I think it's really important to do mock interviews just to get yourselves familiarized with the format. So how you can do this is very simply, very cheaply. You just ask your sibling or friend, but they might not be able to assess you as well, but it will help for sure. Another thing is you could possibly find a tutor, possibly current dental student. I think that's something that helped in my case because they were able to tell me not only questions, what I could improve on, basically a more realistic view of what the interview could be like. And also they would tell me what specific things Kings might want to hear to show that I've researched more into Kings. Be yourself, be confident, try to not speak with a lot of ums and uhs. But I understand I do that too. Everyone does that. Be prepared basically for the questions. Do as much practice as you can. It's obviously difficult to focus on your A-levels and everything that's going on as well, but try and focus on the interview process because if you don't have an interview and don't have an offer, that demotivates you for the A-levels as well. I think that really motivated me once I got an offer.
One more thing with the interview I would say is record yourself answering the questions as well. Because when you look at yourself, I think that helps too.
100%. Yeah, give yourself a good presence. So even on camera, don't put the camera too far away. You should fill up a good amount of the screen. And also what I did is that show that you have hand movements as well, that you're not just speaking and static.
So the interviews are not face-to-face then, they're online, is that right?
Yeah, interviews at King's College are still online. I'm not too sure about the other unis.
Or is there anything else at all that you think King's would be able to offer? Because King's is very good in the dentistry league tables, isn't it? So is that something that they're proud of, that interviewees could say?
Yep. For example, with King's College, they have these new haptic machines, which they've had for a few years now. But they're really proud of them. You might want to say that like, oh, I've done the tour, been there, and I'm really, really excited to see the haptic machines and how they would work and maybe have a go at them. It's basically a 3D kind of machine, like a virtual reality dentistry machine, which really fun the first few times. Google it, have a look at it. Another thing is they have talks very often because they're in London. I guess this is their advantage compared to the other unis. They have specialists, dentists, even companies like Colgate and Sensodyne, and come basically every week, sometimes a few times a week. So there's a lot you can learn. Most of these kind of lectures will cost later on when you graduate, but while you're a student, they're free. You can really learn a lot. This is something that I didn't do much of, which regret now coming into my 5th year. I shouldn't. That's one thing that you could really say in the interview that would surprise them. That means that you researched, you know that. In addition, I think they're still quite proud of their Guy's Tower. They're a very tall tower that people actually used to go up there before the Shard was there. It's a great view that's right next to the Shard. If you're a student, then feel free to do that. Or even if you're a patient, you can go up there and have a look. I think they still value themselves in having good early clinical experience. So even from about mid-second year, you're able to see patients. So that I'd say that's quite early on. And then also at the beginning of second year, you're already there to nurse and help in patient care process. Some unis I know offer it earlier, even at the end of first year. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd say that's still really nice that you'll get basically 4 years worth of clinical experience before you graduate. I think they're going to keep it that way.
Then in terms of any tips, so we're happy with the tips for interviews. Obviously, if you have any other questions, please comment down below.
I don't know how many people are actually going to end up seeing this. But yeah, if you're listening to this during your runs, thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, let us know. You might be interested. Some of the general format that you will be aware of is that King's College does 4 questions. You'll get asked a question. You have 5 minutes to answer the question, and that's the format. I think shouldn't change for at least the next year.
Interesting.
In those 5 questions, you might get little prompts, but mostly those 5 minutes are all yours. That's for you to speak. Don't speak for 2 minutes. If you speak for 7 minutes, you'll get cut off as well. So try to also time your answers.
That's actually very helpful, because then that means that truly recording yourself for those 5 minutes is probably very important, and then to watch back and look back. Almost like you need some sort of a script, I guess. Speaking for 5 minutes nonstop is a little bit difficult, in my opinion.
And also in your head, you really need to think of a format for your answers. For example, one of the simpler questions, like, what are the 3 things that would show that you're a good dentist? And you really need to structure it. Maybe if you talk about the 3, maybe even say that why the first one is the more important, why a third, expand on them, and then conclude as well. But basically, have a good structure to answer. Don't jump around. That would really show that you're more disorganized and your communication stuff might not be as clear as they want.
Fair enough. So kind of have like a mini essay in your head. And then what about the UCAT? Because obviously we've jumped straight into the interview, but there's also the UCAT stuff, isn't there? So to be able to get into the interview. So could you tell us a little bit about your process? I know you performed really well in your
UCAT. Oh boy, I don't even remember what I got. I think I got something like 2,900s. I think that put me in a good top upper 20. I think. So that put me in a good position, and especially I've seen somewhere when I was applying that King's values basically the UCAT and the personal statement as like a 50-50, and that's basically their selection process and what allows you to get a spot in the interview. And everything else is a check mark. Let's say your GCSEs, just like tick. Predicted grades are also just a tick. For the UCAS, I would recommend any courses that have as many question banks as possible. Repetition of those. Pauline, I think you tutor quite a bit on the UCAT, so maybe you could speak more about this.
Yeah, so just like UCAT revision, I'd say most importantly, do as many of these question banks as possible, and do as many questions as you can from each of the question banks, of course. Try to complete them if possible. Try to do it twice. Ideally, you want to start it as early as possible. I know generally people take 3 months or so, or 1 month to study for the UCAT. I'd say that's not really enough. I'd say 6 months, even start as far as 1 year, and just get the concepts in your head, because it's totally revisable. It's not something that you can't revise for. So definitely make sure that you do that, especially for King's College, because that's 50%, right? And personal statement, I don't know how they grade them, but that's probably a very difficult thing to grade, whereas UCAT is something that you can work on.
Yeah, I totally agree. UCAT, super important. I think most people do it in the summer. You have a few months, but as Pauline said, earlier the better.
Cool. Next thing is, how important are extracurricular activities and work experience in dentistry applications for King's College London?
I would say very important. The interview will include questions about dentistry, obviously why you would want to do dentistry, why you will make a good dentist, and also even clinical scenarios regarding dentistry. Therefore, very important to know as much as you can. Obviously, not in insane detail. Obviously, you're not a student yet, but to know general things about dentistry. The GDC principles, see what all dentists follow. That is very important to know. Other than that, the dental pathway. So what happens after you become a student. Thirdly, the ethics that you will learn during your SJT, basically when you're revising for your UCAT. Those are the 3 main things that I would recommend have a good look at, basically knowing what the different specialties are and what you could possibly do after 5 years at dental school.
Very cool. And then in terms of life at King's College London, obviously now you're in, a lot of people have dreamt of getting into dentistry at King's College London. What is the teaching style like at King's? Because some people get in and they realize, oh my gosh, the teaching style isn't what I wanted. So what is it like at King's?
I think a quite basic way of how they teach. Nothing too out of the box. What I would explain it as is, yes, every year you do have lectures, you will have practicals, you will have clinics, and you will have tutorials. The percentage of that varies depending on what year you're in. So in first year, it will be a lot of lectures and basically a lot of theory and maybe practicals. In the later years, slowly there'll be less of lectures and practicals and more tutorials, which will look back onto the lectures, and more clinical time. So it's a gradual increase in the amount of clinical practice, amount of tutorials, amount of revision that you'll get, but then also a gradual decrease in lectures. I would say generally the teaching style is good. A lot of the lectures are not only online, they're pre-recorded, which For some people, they love it because then you have time, you can do it whenever. You can do it in the weekends. For a lot of people, that saves you a lot of money and time.
Okay. And then in 1 week, for example, at the moment, you're in 5th year. How many lectures versus clinics versus tutorials?
In 5th year, on average, we'll have 4 days of clinical work. That's kind of like 9 to 5. And then we'll have about 2-3 hours of tutorials slotted either on the Monday and then you also in between the 9 to 5s throughout those clinical days or before them. We have less lectures now. In year 4 is one of them much more heavily in theory intense, and we would have about 8 to 10 hours of lectures a week throughout the whole year. I'd say it was quite a lot because on top of that, that's just watching the lecture. The lectures are really dense. This year it's much less. 5th year gets more fun.
And then obviously with exams, what's the kind of exam style in King's College London?
So I know other unis will have exams throughout the year, quite a lot of them, but King's really likes to have one exam at the end, a big one. That's when they will do most of them, but obviously throughout the year there'll be a lot of practical exams, like little ones. One thing about King's is they love to let people resit, so they're not afraid to fail anyone. I've spoken to other friends in Birmingham, and they basically say that no one ever fails. Maybe a year one person will resit, while at King's last year in 4th year I know that at least half the year resat. So yes, that does ruin your summer plans, it delays your happiness, it increases your stress. Hopefully, but if that doesn't put you off, then maybe that could motivate you. Now I'm not going to be the people that resit.
Wow, over 50% resitting in my opinion is a very high number. It sounds very scary.
It's not one exam and 50% resit. It's about 4 or 5 exams, and then someone will resit something, and then in total that adds up to 50% of the year.
That is something to note, guys. That is a key. And how many people are there in the year in total then?
At King's, there's actually the most students of any other uni. All the other unis, there's about 15 dental unis. The other 14 all have 72, while King's has a bit more. So King's has about 100, 110. That's just undergraduate students. On top of that, they will have an extra that will join your year are the people doing the 4-year course. So they're called the GPEPs. So the people who've done an undergraduate course before, so that'll be their postgrad. And then also 20 students on the GPMG course, which is a 3-year course. And basically students that are doctors already. And so that adds up to about 150 students, which is quite a lot actually. But that's one disadvantage of King's, I'd say, is that because there's so many students, it's hard to get to know everyone, and also how you don't have lectures together and how the tutorials and groups are all very smaller groups, I would say, in other unis, which are a bit smaller, a bit more tight-knit, and I guess because they're not in London, people live closer to each other, maybe on campus, people get to know each other, I'd say, better. At King's, because there's so many people, and it's hard to organize everything, you get put in like a smaller group, about 15, that's kind of your group for the whole year.
So I guess it essentially depends on who you're put with, is the people that you would know a little bit better. And speaking about the students, I wanted to ask you about how you feel about people's support systems, like the student community. What is it like?
So I think King's is very good on top of that. They've got a good well-being support group. They always say to support King's well-being, you can get a lot of mitigating circumstances, which basically allows you to have more time on stuff, get extra time on exams, also get extensions on deadlines, even absences. You can always contact them. I'd say at King's as a whole, in terms of health, mental health and well-being, it's really good. I really recommend it for that. I've heard other unis are not as responsive in terms of that, but King's appears to be quite good.
And then obviously with, exams and people failing and having to resit, how does that play on everyone kind of morale?
Definitely impacted me. I can't speak out, but it definitely impacted me. But I guess once again, because it's about 50% of you, it doesn't feel as bad because there's, the half of the year is doing it with you as well. I guess it would feel worse if it was only like 5 of you. It's just how they wrote the mark scheme.
It must be really tough, especially with, not having a proper holiday.
I would say it's more about waiting for your results. For me, it was just as bad as doing the exam, actually.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, because then you're still thinking, what if I have to revise further?
Exactly. Or like, what if I fail? I have to contact someone, otherwise I will get kicked out. But other unis do have that. Like in Cambridge, right?
I think they do let you resit once, but the second time if you resit again and you still don't pass, then
You're out.
I think you're out. I'm not sure, to be honest. The next thing is, obviously we've spoken about the exam side of stuff, which is quite intimidating, but let's shift that to a more positive thing, which is, what was the most rewarding experience so far in your dentistry journey at King's? Passing the exam.
Yeah, actually, it's honestly a lot of character building. I'd say I learned a lot. I think I've gotten a bit stronger because you experience a lot. That's the one thing that better in doing a dentistry or maybe a medicine course. Your uni experience isn't like school. You don't just go to uni and then kind of sit in your classes. I think you have more responsibility because you get to see patients, you get to see nurses, you get to see staff. You're basically kind of an on-the-job training intern and a student at the same time. So you get a lot more interaction with people. People are actually depending on you. You experience once again a lot of failure. Basically, everyone's failed. Every time you fail, you learn. As a whole, by every time you surpass one of these tests or these little failures and turn it into a success, then you become a much stronger. Let's say you've never done a filling before. You've only done it on a mannequin, and then now you're literally put in the deep end and you have to do it on a person. That thing is always really stressful. You definitely, the day before you start revising, you're scared. The tutor's going to ask you questions. The nurse that day comes up and says, like, what do you want? They have to get it for you. You start stressing. So when a patient comes in late, you have less time. There's things you've possibly never used before. There might be run out of material that you wanted to use. Prep you for the reality of what your job could be. And then after it's 2 hours of your treatment, definitely come out a better dentist, and you felt a bit more accomplished because you possibly have gone through this stressful experience and come out of it
Alive and triumphant. You learned something, and obviously whenever you learn something, that's very rewarding, isn't it?
Exactly. It's also rewarding when the patient's happy with what you've done. That's also really good. Never fails to put a smile on your face if they say that they like what you've done.
Definitely. There's the job satisfaction aspect of dentistry and medicine, isn't there? When you're like actually helping someone and it makes their day better. Sometimes it makes their day worse.
Yeah, sometimes it does. So it's a balance. Like sometimes you're taking out their teeth, and that's very sad.
Yeah. But I guess in a way it like toughens you up because you know how to deal with emotions, a little different emotions, and patients can be very challenging sometimes, and people you work with.
But it's tough because, for example, statistics suggest that highest suicide rate is in medics and secondary dentists because it is a stressful job. You're dealing with a lot of pain, probably more sad moments than happy ones, I'd say. So at the end of the day, this is something that you need to keep in mind when you're applying. It's going to be stressful. It's not going to be happy all the time. I think it's important to cherish the little happy moments. All you have.
I guess in medicine and dentistry, people come to you when they're sick and ill and in pain, right? So that's what you see in that period of time. And then when they're feeling better, they're off and they don't want to come see you. So there's definitely that aspect of seeing the pain and the illness, etc.
All you hear is misery. It's hard to hear that and then be in a good mood as well. Let's say they're in a lot of pain, you can't just make a joke. You also kind of absorb. It makes sense. Like if they give out bad energy, you usually absorb that as well.
True, that is true. The way that I see it is that the world is not ideal, but I guess the way that I kind of frame it is that I'm more grateful for the things that I have, because otherwise I don't think you can function if you're absorbing constantly all the time. Because you're right, it is negative emotions, it is pain, it is sadness, it is misery. But if you bring that on, you can't give what you don't have, essentially. I think that's a very big motto of mine. If you can't give health, if you don't have mental health, you can't give mental health. And in a way, you have to balance yourself to make sure that you're well enough to help other people.
That's very powerful. I like that.
I guess speaking about that, how do you kind of manage the stress and the workload during the course?
I think you need to be organized. That's throughout uni as a whole, because at school, the school controls everything out for you. They check on you. Have you done this? Have you applied? But at uni, no one really checks up on you. No one's going to ask you. Your parents are going to be like, have you done the lecture? You kind of just have to do it yourself. You need to stay organized. You need to stay positive. Importantly, people around you that will support you along the way. Find your hobbies, find your friends. One thing that keeps me through is staying appreciative.
Grateful and
yeah,
thankful.
grateful. that you're in this privileged situation, I guess. Every day that you get to be in such a good environment with good people, in a house, in a nice city, in a nice uni. Like a lot of people would dream to be in my situation. So I need to be grateful that I'm in it. I need to make the most of it. That's what keeps going around whenever I feel bad. What about you?
Yeah, it's kind of the same, really. The world is never ideal, and sometimes you have setbacks, sometimes you have failures, sometimes things don't go to plan. But you just have to remember that everything is changing. Nothing will stay the same. You have to accept the fact that it might have not been great, but the next thing might be great. So you have to keep your mind open, feeling gratitude for the things that you have. That's definitely a key thing for mental health, for my mental health. And realizing that you're born with nothing, you die with nothing. You know, living this life, it's an incredible privilege to be alive in the first place.
I think seeing your reels and stuff, you should follow your reels. They're very positive.
Thank you. I appreciate that because I feel like to hospital, going to the GP, obviously you hear a lot of sadness and, as you said, misery. But then how can you change your mindset to feel happier in the moment and enjoy life and enjoy existence? Awesome. And then in terms of, this is something that I forgot to ask before, but do you feel like there's anyone who wouldn't be able to do dentistry? I know manual dexterity is of course a very important thing, and they don't necessarily test that when you're applying for dentistry. What are your thoughts on that? How do you know that you're good enough?
Yeah, I think they do like it. Some unis, like if you're a good artist, they might, even during the exam, during some interviews in person, they'll give you something to like draw or build using your hands. Some interview processes even send you stuff for you to build and show it on camera. So manual dexterity and creativity, definitely a thing. But as in manual dexterity to become a dentist, all of that is trained during dental school. If you don't think you're the best for it, as long as you're passionate, the desire to be a dentist, that should be enough.
One more thing is, how can international students make their applications competitive? Because obviously you were an international student, weren't you? Or you were classified as one. So what can you do as an international student?
Maybe you need to show your understanding of the British system.
Definitely. I think it's definitely much harder for international students because they might not be able to go to the university itself.
Yeah.
Trying to speak to people who have been in the university would probably help.
You can definitely find people now on LinkedIn who's gone to dentistry. If you have any questions, ask me. I don't really have a LinkedIn. It's so inactive, but I guess you can find me on Insta. You can text me if you like.
So hopefully this is like some educational content that is useful in a positive way, I guess. Hopefully. Now, just looking at your career outlook, I think we've spoken quite a lot about what to do after you graduate. It just makes me think about what kind of career paths are available after graduating from King's Dentistry.
So in terms of the pathway, if you're not a medic, then I think medics will have a different path, which I'm not too sure about. I'm going to speak about the dentist pathway to become a dentist. At that point, are a qualified dentist, usually. So after that, you will go into your DFT, which is dental foundation training, for a year. And it's the most common thing someone would do. And after that year, that would allow you to work for the NHS. After that 1 year, either you go out and work as an associate, or work outside as a dentist under the NHS or in private if you can find one, or you can work as a DCT, which is dental core training. This can be for a year, 2 years, 3 years. This is to further develop your skills and would help you in later for your specialization training. So then you can specialize in anything you like, in restorative dentistry, in prosthodontics, pediatrics, orthodontics, so whatever you like. But that's the general pathway. So it's at least, if you want to become a specialist, which I think some people do, let's say you want to specialize in orthodontics, most commonly after graduation, 1 year in DFT, then about 2 to 3 years in DCT, depending on how much extra training you want. So you can still do that in anything, but if you want to do orthodontics, you might want to do that in orthodontics as well. That's extra 2, that's 3 in total. On top of that, your specialization training, which I think between 3 and 4 years, so let's say full time, that'd be 6 years. And then I think you have to do an exam, and then you become a specialist orthodontist. And then if you get a job as a consultant, so let's say in hospital, then you can be a consultant.
I see.
That's the career path. But obviously at any point in that pathway, because you're already qualified, you can go and work. People actually end up specializing compared to the people who end up just working as a general dentist out in clinics. But yeah, so that's basically the 2 options that people usually... You can have a special interest, that's obviously good, but I think there's nothing wrong with not knowing what to do. Tutors always ask me, like, what do I want to do? They always say, like, I don't know. And they always say like, yeah, take your time, because they also didn't know when they were my age, and they ended up picking it way later when they actually did more of it in real life to know what they actually wanted to do and specialize. Just take your time, because it is a big choice and you don't want to take it too early on.
Fair. I guess it's really difficult to know what it is that you want to do if you haven't done it yet and you don't know for sure whether you like it or not. Kind of similar to medicine, I guess, in that respect.